In late April 2012, a young family was preparing to move from Tennessee to Arizona. A mother, father, and 3 girls were packing up their belongings. They'd been dreaming of moving to Arizona for a long time, but that dream would never come true. Within days, Gary Bain, the family's father, would call police to report his wife and children missing. The search for the family would make national headlines, and what happened would shock everyone who followed the case. The family we're talking about today was quite large. The mother's name was Joanne Bain, and she had 3 daughters. The 2 older girls were from her first marriage to a man named Mark Johnson. The girls were named Adrian, born in 1997, and Alexandria, born 2 years later. After the divorce, their father wasn't involved in raising them. When Joanne married Gary Bain, Mark willingly signed over his parental rights to Joanne's new husband. In her second marriage, Joanne and Gary had a daughter named Kylea, born in 2004. Now let's talk about Joanne's second husband. This was also Gary's second marriage. Gary Bain had previously been married to a woman named Pamela Mays. They lived together for about 20 years before divorcing in 2002. Since he'd been with Pamela for so long, Gary was very close to her family. She had 5 brothers and sisters. Gary remained friends with one of her brothers even after divorcing Pamela. His name was Adam Mays. He was a frequent guest at Gary and Joanne's house. He was like an uncle to the older girls and considered the youngest his niece, too. Gary and Joanne were fond of him. He helped around the house and played with the children. In late April 2012, when the family was supposed to move to Arizona, he was helping them pack and load their belongings into the car. The family wasn't moving to Arizona randomly. Joanne had lived most of her life there. They had happy kids. We went lots of places together. Birthday parties, baseball games, baseball practice, softball practice. Our kids went to the same school. Sometimes we'd go on double dates. We went to the Twilight movie premiere. They were just a normal, very close-knit, loving family, recalled Rick Foster, a close family friend. The Bains lived in Whiteville, Tennessee, a small town with only about 3,000 residents. It's pretty unremarkable. No wonder the Bains were planning to move. Since the early 2000s, Whiteville's population had only been shrinking. Plus, Joanne was planning to go back to college. She wanted to become an elementary school teacher and work with children. It had been a long-time dream of hers. Arizona's drier climate would also be better for the girls, who had asthma. Joanne hoped they'd be more comfortable there. The move was scheduled for April 28th, 2012. The night before, Gary Bain woke up alone in the house. Maybe Joanne had taken the girls to school as usual and then run errands? But why wasn't Joanne answering her phone? Evening came, and the girls never came home on the school bus. Not understanding what was happening, Gary called police. He reported that his family was missing. The investigation began. By the next day, police discovered that the last person to see Joanne and her daughters was a man named Adam Mays. When they asked Gary about him, he told detectives that Adam was a family friend, his ex-wife's brother. He'd been helping them with the move. Gary also gave him odd jobs regularly. Mays fixed cars and mowed lawns. He couldn't find steady work, and Gary didn't want Adam to be completely broke. Gary told police that his daughters considered Adam their uncle and adored him. Adam Mays was like family. Mays was called to the station, where he said he'd last seen the family on April 27th. He'd been helping them pack and load their belongings into the car, but he claimed he didn't know where the mother and 3 girls were now. The investigation continued. On April 30th, they found Joanne's car abandoned on a back road in Tennessee. News broadcasts covered the missing mother and her daughters. Everyone in Tennessee knew their names. Disappearing was completely out of character for Joanne. She was a responsible mom, loving wife, and loyal friend. Police were grasping for any lead. On April 30th, surveillance cameras caught Adam Mays at a store in Mississippi. On May 1st, he was spotted in Guntown, Mississippi. They kept tracking him. He wasn't officially a suspect yet, but they suspected he knew something. They were right. On May 4th, Adam Mays' wife, Teresa, called police. There are conflicting accounts. Some say police first brought her to the station where she claimed to know nothing, but then either she called them or they brought her back in, and she revealed she knew where the mother and daughters were. Their disappearance, she said, was Adam's doing. So let's get to know this Adam better. Adam Christopher Mays was born September 2nd, 1976, to Johnny and Mary Frances Mays. He was the youngest of 6 children. From early on, his parents noticed the boy was aggressive. His own mother said so. Adam's childhood wasn't happy. The family lived in poverty. The youngest was disliked and feared, and even as an adult, Adam chose not to leave his parents' home. At the time of these events, Adam and his wife Teresa lived with his parents in Alpine, near Whiteville. They lived in a trailer parked on his parents' property and had been married for 11 years. The couple couldn't have children of their own, so Adam spent a lot of time with his friends' kids. They clearly didn't have much money, but that was the least of their problems. Teresa's mother had repeatedly called police about Adam beating her daughter. Even Adam's own sisters described him as aggressive, cruel, and dishonest. He always carried a gun, and even his family feared him. Everyone distrusted him, except apparently Gary Bain, who welcomed him warmly and tried to give him the care and support Adam lacked at home. Perhaps Adam showed Gary his better side, saving his true nature for behind closed doors. What did he do when no one was watching? Knowing this, remember that Gary Bain let Adam around his daughters. Gary didn't just invite him to family dinners and movie nights. He let Adam interact closely with his girls. He played with them and became quite close to them. Gary trusted Adam so much that he gave him a spare key to their house. Imagine the opportunity this gave Adam. For 8 years or more, he had the trust of a father with 3 daughters. Then suddenly, the family decided to move. Could Joanne have sensed something wrong? Could Adam's unhealthy interest have been one of many factors that pushed her toward relocating? She might have pushed those thoughts away, never telling anyone. After the mother and daughters disappeared, Adam's wife spoke to police and admitted she could no longer stay silent. Teresa came forward and confessed her role. She was directly involved in the murders that took place right in the family's home. According to her account, the timeline went like this. On April 25th and 26th, Adam had already tried to kidnap Alexandria and Kylaya. Teresa was supposed to help him. The plan was to grab the girls from the street while they waited for the school bus, but it didn't work. The next day, they tried again, but failed once more. Adam and Teresa waited at the house, but the girls didn't arrive by bus. Gary had driven them home instead. On April 26th, Mays attempted to kill the girl's father, Gary Bain. He gave him a tequila sunrise spiked with pills and eye drops. But the poison was too weak, even though Gary drank a double portion, his own and Joanne's, since she'd gone to bed early. At midnight, Gary stumbled to the bedroom and fell asleep. His breathing remained steady. The concoction hadn't worked, so Adam moved to Plan B. It helped that he was allowed to spend the night in the family's house, since he was supposed to help them pack the next day. According to Teresa, Adam was willing to do anything to get Alexandria, Joanne's middle daughter, who was 12. He genuinely believed that he and Alexandria could have a romantic relationship, that he was in love with her and she could love him back. He was completely obsessed with her. He confessed this to Teresa himself, saying Alexandria was now his new love. When Teresa tried to talk him out of what he was planning, he threatened her, saying she now knew too much and he'd have to kill her. According to some accounts, Teresa said Adam believed he was the father of the middle and oldest girls. Adam seriously claimed that Joanne, whom he hadn't even met before her youngest daughter was born, had somehow gotten pregnant by him and given birth to the middle and oldest daughters. Adam had spent a year planning how to get Alexandria permanently. Mays even sold his motorcycle to fund the kidnapping. The final straw that made Adam decide to act immediately was the Bain's planned move. He couldn't allow that. Yes, he lived 80 miles from the family's house, but he could easily ride his motorcycle there and back. Plus, he sometimes stayed overnight at their home. But if they moved to a completely different state, they'd never see each other again. Teresa, knowing about these plans and seeing his obsession, understanding what would likely happen next, agreed to help him. But it's worth mentioning that Teresa was quite impressionable and trusting. Some of her relatives, including her mother, said she had developmental issues that made her easy to manipulate. We know for certain that Mays threatened her. This doesn't excuse her responsibility, but Teresa was definitely afraid of her husband. According to Teresa, Adam realized everyone was asleep and no one suspected anything. He went into the younger girl's bedroom and told them to get in the car with Teresa, who was waiting outside as usual. The girls obeyed. Then he went to Joanne's bedroom. He woke the woman and told her that little Kalia was sleepwalking. He said the girl had wandered into the garage. As soon as Joanne entered the garage, he struck her in the head. He wrapped a rope around her neck and strangled her. Then he went upstairs to Adriana's room and suffocated her with a pillow. Adam wrapped both bodies in plastic bags. He drove Joanne's car to a vacant lot where it would soon be discovered. Then he loaded the bags with the bodies into the vehicle where Teresa and the two younger girls were waiting, and they drove away from the house. Adam climbed into the back seat with them. Kalia was crying while Alexandria tried to comfort her little sister. They had no idea what awaited them. Teresa and her husband took them to their home. Remember, Adam lived with his mother. Mays's mother, Mary, let the girls into her house while her son disposed of the bodies. Teresa watched where and how he buried them on his property. The next morning, Adam's first priority was playing video games. He'd accomplished his mission. He was pleased with himself. They wouldn't catch him. He was smarter than other criminals, right? All that remained was to flee to Mexico. After hearing her confession, police still hoped Teresa had made it all up. However, On May 5th, the bodies of Joanne and Adrian were indeed found behind Adam Mays's house. They were buried in a shallow grave. According to autopsy results, they'd been there since April 27th. Now police believe the second part of her confession, too. Teresa claimed the two younger girls, Alexandria and Kylea, were still with Mays. He'd kidnapped them and taken them somewhere unknown. Mays's mother, Mary, also knew about the kidnapping. Adam Mays was now a wanted man. Police combed through forests, stopped cars on highways, and questioned anyone who'd had contact with him. Mays was armed and dangerous, with 2 hostages. News broadcasts about him dominated American media. The FBI offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to his capture. Teresa was quickly arrested and taken into custody, along with Adam's mother, Mary. Teresa confessed to helping her husband with everything except his escape with the children. Mary knew about the bodies her son had buried on the property, but said nothing. On May 10th, police received a tip. Someone had spotted a man resembling Mays in woods near Guntown, about 20 miles from the city. Police and SWAT teams immediately responded. Officers searched the area. Deep in the forest, Mississippi Highway Patrol Senior Sergeant Steve Crawford spotted a small girl, specifically the back of her head. She was lying face down on the ground. Looking closer, he saw another girl nearby, also face down. There he was, Adam Mays. The fugitive saw him. Crawford ordered him to put his hands up. Instead, Adam dropped to his knees, pulled a gun from his waistband, raised it to his head, and fired. Seeing this, Alexandria and Kylea began to move. The girls, Alexandria and Kylea, were found to be in good health, according to doctors. They'd been hiding in the woods with Adam for 3 days without food or water. But aside from dehydration, a few insect bites, and blisters from poison ivy, they had no injuries. After being examined at the hospital, the girls were released to go home. They were finally reunited with their father, Gary, who had begun losing hope that they'd ever be found alive. Those 13 days had been devastating for him. That evening, he breathed a sigh of relief. Teresa and Mary would face the full force of the law despite Teresa's developmental disabilities. On May 21st, 2012, both women were charged with aggravated kidnapping. In 2013, both women accepted plea deals. Mary was sentenced to 13.5 years in prison, while Teresa received 35 years. In 2016, both women were transferred to a specialized therapeutic facility within the prison system for good behavior. Fortunately, the girls' lives soon returned to normal. That's the story, friends. Please subscribe and like it so you don't miss any new stories.